Travis Scott was at a low point. 2 years ago, the Astroworld disaster happened. His music festival turned deadly, and people lost their lives, all because of poor safety management. Everybody was pointing their fingers at Travis, blaming him for not taking enough responsibility and being aware enough.
You know, things happen at concerts, but something like that, it's just like...
After a multi-year investigation, Travis was officially cleared of any legal wrongdoing. But even with this weight off his back, he now faced a different problem. How do you move forward from this and get back to making music? So here's what he did. He surrounded himself with some of the best producers to get their help for his follow-up album, UTOPIA. And on this album, we hear Travis taking risks. He evolved his sound and left the old Travis Scott formula behind. And the result? Some of the best music Travis Scott has made, with people all agreeing the production was key.
A lot of creative and colorful production across this thing.
So today we're going to break down the creative production ideas on UTOPIA and what makes them so unique. And you can even use these ideas in your beats as well. But you know what would make me feel like I'm in a utopia? If you could hit the like or subscribe button. You could build me a paradise just by clicking one of those buttons. So on UTOPIA, the lead track Hyena shows a newer beat making technique that I think we're going to see a lot more of in the future.
Trying to hit what you did, now you can't close. Cause I get bobblehead like I done made pro.
The technique that the producers use in this beat is sample reconstruction. So let me show you what this is. We'll start by listening to the sample first. Now you can hear all throughout the sample it has drums in it and its own unique bass line, but when you listen to Hyena, you don't hear those same elements. Up until now, it's been near impossible to take a sample and break apart the individual sounds in it. You are pretty much stuck with a sample as it is, but that's not the case anymore. By using splitting tools, you can take apart samples and reconstruct them in a way that's just never been possible before. So for example, one of the tools I like using is a vocalremover.org. This is free and it works pretty well. If you want a paid option, RipX is also good. By the way, this isn't a sponsored video or anything, just thought I would share these tools with you. So let's take a look at how tools like these were used to make this beat. First, we have the psychedelic guitar that's split out from the sample and used for the main loop. And for this section, we also have an 808. But what's interesting about this beat is that one of the drum loops has a near identical pattern to the original from the sample. The textures just sound different. So here's the drum loop from the original sample. And here's the pattern from the final beat. You'll notice there are a few extra notes and some glitching techniques, and the textures do sound different, but the core pattern, rhythm, and groove are pretty identical. Now I can't say this with 100% certainty, but it does sound like the drums from the sampler are used as the foundation, with some sound designing and layering on top to help them sound bigger. And this is why the technique of sample reconstruction is just so powerful. You can pull apart samples and choose how to put them back together using different effects on different elements to create something new. It's a technique that hasn't existed in the past, but we're going to start seeing this more with this new technology. Now, another impressive technique on UTOPIA can be found in Lost Forever.
Lost on islands driven in boat cars. Just bring your girl, feel like she both eyes.
So let's take a look at the sample that the producers used to make this beat.
Have you ever been loved in a friend's eye?
So here's how the sample's used. Then we have a few additional layers that come in. But the part that I find so fascinating about this beat and many of the other beats on Utopia is the structuring. In a typical hip hop beat, we would have something like this for the drums. It's just a regular kick and snare pattern, but instead, here's what we have in Lost Forever. We have this unique percussion playing with this odd placement compared to what you typically hear in hip-hop beats. And this gives this beat an entirely new energy. Another example of a similar idea is on the beat for Sirens.
I was too damn determined. Rap game it needed refurbished. I was up top with no service. Watches it are playing verses. They in the bushes.
Where the producers of this beat use this sample. And so here's how the sample is used. It's nothing too crazy so far. When we bring in the kick and the 808, we start to see some unusual ideas here with how and where these sounds are used. But what I find the most unusual part about this beat is the remaining drum sounds. We have these really dense hybrid hi-hat snares that fill up so much space in this beat. And here's what makes these such a strange part of the beat. First off, you can see this pattern doesn't use the default grid. It uses the third beat grid, which is already unusual. But take a listen to the sound itself. If I tried to recreate this pattern using a typical trap hi-hat, listen to how the beat sounds. It's just far more empty comparatively. This hybrid sound makes the beat sound so much more full because of how much body there is. If I open up an EQ, here is how our trap hi-hat looks. And compare this to the actual sound that's used. Look at how much more low-end body there is here. And this is what I find really inspiring about Utopia. I know it's easy to go into autopilot mode when you're programming your drums, but they can be such a great place to innovate if you just try something different like we're seeing here. And by the way, if you want help to bring your innovative beat ideas to life, check out Better Beatmaker. It's my full online program that helps you understand the actual knowledge needed to make beats. One of my members recently sold his first beat, and the crazy part is, just a year ago, he never made a beat in his life. Better Beatmaker helped him accelerate his progress much faster. So check it out if you're interested, the link is down below. And finally, the last beat I want to take a look at is God's Country.
God country, this is war.
I know sampling can be hard for a lot of producers, especially when you're trying to take your loop and turn it into a full beat, but I think the producers on this beat do a great job of that. So here's the sample that's used for this beat. And the producers do a great job of manipulating different parts of the samples in different ways to keep the beat interesting. So for a start, here's the first piece of the sample that's used. Then partway through the beat, we have a different piece of the sample that's being used. It has a similar vocal pattern, but the different instrumentation around the vocals help bring a new feel to the beat here. Next, this is where the producers do something even smarter. They start to stretch the sample out to create even more variation. What this does is it creates a completely new rhythm with those vocal notes since they're now slowed down. And we also have a pitched down version of this exact same loop, creating a fourth variation all from one sample. It's It's just a smart way to take your sample and keep it from becoming stale. So let's take all these cool ideas from Utopia and use them to make our own beat. I'm going to start by using this psychedelic guitar from Arcade. Then I'm going to slow the sample down and bring in some big juicy bass like we hear all over Utopia. Next for the drums, I'm going to push myself to be less conventional. Let's start with a kick pattern and this percussion. And for the hi-hats, I'm going to try to create some full body textures like we heard on Sirens. Let's first start by programming some straightforward hi-hats. And then I'm going to use a guitar amp to really recolor them and bring out that body. And then for the final touch, I'm going to grab this sample here. Use my stem splitter to rip apart this guitar and use it as a small detail in this beat. And there we go, we have a beat using some of the cool techniques we learned from this album, including structuring, sample splitting, and manipulation. Speaking of sampling techniques though, I know sampling can be hard, so if you want to learn some really helpful sampling techniques, check out the video next to me. But those are some of the production techniques found on Utopia. Hopefully you like this video. If so, hit like and subscribe, and check out the video next to me only if you're really cool though. If not, I'll see you next week.